Right, let's bring the foreign editor now, the Australian Greg Sheridan. Greg, well, you would have heard Andrew Hastie there. I can't believe not a minister, not a leader, not the Prime Minister, no political person from the Labor Party has made a representation to the Chinese over that potentially catastrophic incident involving our ADF over the weekend. What do you make of it when you hear that sort of information?
Well, I think you're right, Peter. It shows to me two things: how hollow the claim of a dialogue, a rich official dialogue, is. I mean, what's the point of a dialogue if you can't have a discussion when the forces of one country are endangering the lives of the forces of another country? The other thing it shows to me is how weak our defence effort is. You know, that's one of only 3 modern warships that we have. So our entire Navy is engaged in that one exercise. But the other point I'd make, sometimes foreign leaders won't take the call, and prime ministers are embarrassed about revealing that publicly. Even, Prime Minister Albanese might not have wanted to ring Xi Jinping, but even if he'd rung the Chinese premier. But what I can't understand even more than that is why the Chinese ambassador hasn't been called in for an official diplomatic démarche. I mean, if you're not going to protest over this, well then, you are just utterly subservient and just leaving it to officials. You know, the truth is, nothing we do or say is going to change Chinese behaviour, but let's at least be part of an international campaign to highlight it, make it public and make them pay some political price for it.
Yeah, well, I have to ask, Greg, I mean, they've got away now with the lease on the Port of Darwin, despite Albanese saying prior to being elected he was going to go hard on that issue. Well, he's rolled over. We've got this issue with the Chinese, obviously. We've had the other sonar issue, multiple other defence and security issues. We've got concerns about Chinese in our energy infrastructure. I mean, on and on it goes. I mean, other than selling a few lobsters and some bottles of wine, what has Labor actually done here beyond the trade relationship?
Well, I think they've become very poor. I thought they started out well, and I'm non-partisan. I'll just reward performance. And they, perhaps based on the continuity of advice and natural caution when they got into government, I thought they started off well. But the Chinese have got them tricked into thinking that the relationship itself is the object of policy. And by the relationship, you just mean happy photo snaps with the Chinese leaders and the removal of those trade embargoes. We ought to have, here are 2 fundamental failures of national Australian policy, but I'd say honestly they're bipartisan failures. We should have a national mission to diversify our trade and our economy away from China. Not to cease all trade tomorrow, nothing like that, but to really vigorously go on, instead of which, we made it impossible for India to invest in Australian mines and so forth. That's one failure. The second failure is the Albanese government has done absolutely nothing that it promised it would do in defence. I mean, if any viewer has got time to spare, just Google Albanese's speech as opposition leader to the Lowy Institute, where he outlined all kinds of things that were going to happen in defence. Tomahawks on the Collins submarines, 3 more air warfare destroyers, all the rest of it. And here we are into the 3rd year of the Albanese government, and nothing has happened. So we have a pitiful defence force and a very weak diplomatic profile and a very dependent trade profile.